I am super excited today because we've got another amazing guest joining us. Lena, hello.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here. Let's get into it. So glad you invited me.
I'm so excited for this. So, before we start, if you've just joined and you're like, what is this going to be all about? Let me tell you, the Dare to Share Challenge is quite literally that. Leaders coming onto the virtual stage to dare to share their truth, their story, and most importantly, their vulnerability. Why? Because this is real and raw leadership. This is showcasing the human behind the perception. This is showing and empowering and impacting everybody who watches and looks up to us leaders to show them that we are not really that different. It's just how we lead ourselves through the same hurdles that we all have that is the differentiator. So with that being said, let's dive in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so before we get to the juice, I have a very important question to ask you, Lena. So today, which level of vulnerability are you going to opt for? So we have level 1, which I like to call stretchy. Now this is your hero's journey. It's your story of trials and tribulations and how you've got to where you are today. It's really important and it's a story that needs to be shared. Or we have level 2, which is extreme. Now, this is something that you're navigating right now behind the scenes, something that you're experiencing, that you're leading yourself through, and you probably wouldn't normally share this quite yet. Which level are you going to go with today?
Let's go extreme, baby.
Oh, I love it. I love an extreme. Okay, let's dive in. So, question number 1 is, what does being a real and raw leader mean to you? And I don't just mean in business, okay? We're talking about Lena behind the scenes in your everyday life as the human, as the individual. That realness and that rawness, what does that really mean and look like to you?
You know, to me, I've been doing a lot of, we're all into personal development, but something that really ignited a different type of fire inside of me to become a leader is when I really started diving into shadow work and triggers and really looking at the parts of yourself that you sometimes don't always want to look at, both in your life and in your business, because I believe that everything is connected, right? And so one of the things that I think makes a really raw and real leader who can really, do massive, massive things and impact a lot of people is, are you actually willing to look at the gunk inside of your personality, inside of your life, all the kind of, nitty gritty things that are very difficult to look at, right? And accept and admit in order to step yourself up to a higher level and understand what are your triggers and what are your blind spots that are preventing you from leading at that next level.
I love that. How willing are you to look at the stuff you don't really want to look at, right? Like the stuff that we try and brush over and the things that we maybe don't like so much about ourselves. And that, a lot of time this can come up as embarrassment or shame or even feeling like bad about it, right? Like I don't know if you have an example, Lena, of you, but for me, this used to be jealousy. And it was something that I knew was obviously something that I needed to work on, but I felt really bad about having jealousy, yet it was still there. Can you give us an example for you, what that would be?
I think for me, it's, we all get jealousy. It's such a normal emotion. And I think it's so important to allow it to exist so that you can, again, get underneath the trigger and heal that. Something that's been really coming up for me, honestly, even just on a very regular basis lately, sort of in the moment, extreme baby type of vulnerability is, not feeling enough when you are not getting the type of feedback that you want to be getting. And one really tangible example that I want to share with you. So I'm currently holding 8 women inside my high ticket group program. I'm about to launch a mini group program. I have a membership. I've been going a lot higher on volume inside my membership, inside my business. And I'm scaling to 50K months right now. And so with holding more women, you are going to have a lot of different women in your mentorship. And especially when you are also increasing the caliber of clients that you are serving, you're naturally going to attract more self-led clients. And with that, there's a shift that happens where some of these self-led clients, they don't necessarily need you as much as some of the different clients. And that can bring up feelings of, am I enough? Am I the person they're going to for help? Sometimes they're not necessarily just going to, listen to all of your advice. They're going to go off and do their own thing. And maybe that's a mistake. Maybe that's a better way, right? So I think something that's been coming up for me a lot is how can I hold myself when those feelings of, am I doing enough? Am I, enough of a centerpiece as a mentor in their life? And really allowing them to just do their thing, and me understanding that this has nothing to say about me. This is just me being called to a higher level of mentorship.
Wow, I love that so much, and I can definitely resonate. And I think especially in those kind of membership community spaces where we can fall into that sense of needing to over deliver because we're worried that otherwise everyone's going to feel like this is not worth the money and they'll just leave, right? And so shifting that to, you know what, the space itself is enough, that I'm holding it is enough, and that when I come in, whether it's once a day, once a week, with something so potent, that is enough. So I love this. Beautiful.
Totally. I think the other thing that kind of just comes up too is people are going to be different from you, and the way that I'm with my mentor is different the way that some of my clients are with me. And I think really creating space for that and understanding that it doesn't mean that they don't appreciate you as much. They're just a little bit more hands off maybe, or maybe they're just in a different light, like in a different energy. And so really just not taking that personally. And it's been a really awesome challenge to work through.
I love that so much. So do I need to ask you now what is going to be your dare to share, or was that it?
I mean, there's more.
Well, let's go again. Okay, so I can ask you the question. Okay, so for you guys watching, I just want to set the precipice of, I never tell any of the leaders who come onto the stage what they should share, right? Like they can literally come on here with anything and everything. I'm equally as surprised as you are. But all I do ask is that they make it stretchy. They make it vulnerable. They make it so that they are putting themselves out there to really lead the way, to be the permission slip for everyone watching, and to say, look, this is not comfortable. I don't like necessarily sharing this, but I'm doing it because I want you to realize that if I can still lead myself through it, so can you. So with that being said, Lena, if you have another one for us, what are you willing to dare to share with us all today?
Yeah, so another really interesting one that I've been navigating currently, and it's even just like come up today, it's come up yesterday, is so I just moved to Valencia, Spain, and I moved here with my husband from Canada. And simultaneously through that move, we also made a really big life change, which is my husband quit his job. He's an engineer. He used to build chips for the government. He was in this job for, I think, about like 7 years out of university. So he actually quit his job and he has joined me part-time on the business, which I'm so excited about because I've been trying to make this happen for a few years at least. And he's finally agreed to graciously come on and be my strategic partner, my CFO. And he's been supporting me in the background, but now he's sort of officially on board. And it's been absolutely incredible, but it's also had so many, like we've had friction, right? And we are different types of people. We run things differently. I'm like the crazy scientist. I just like get an idea and I run with it. He's more methodical. He likes to plan things. He likes to, he always calls it sustainable growth. And so within our partnership, there's a lot of things that are coming up where, the way he wants us to navigate something is very different to how I want to navigate it. And so even just within our partnership, obviously there's, a little bit of friction as we get used to how we work together and agree on the direction of the business. But the other thing that's coming up too is obviously we're married. And so something that's always in the back of my mind is I want to protect my marriage. And so it's been a little tough to have those boundaries. And so even last week, we decided, you know what, like we have 2 meetings per week. If we need to talk about something, we do it through Slack, and we can't just have these impromptu meetings. Of course, last night we ended up just having this random strategic discussion in the evening, and we were like, okay, we need to stop doing that. So it's been really tough because I don't want the business to get in the way of our marriage, but at the same time, I do think we're such great partners working through that. And so it's been a lot of like trial and error to find that balance, and we're still finding it. We're still making so many mistakes. I'm not the best manager, and so I'm having to step up in that way. But I think that's been a really interesting challenge that is probably going to take a little while longer to really iron out.
Wow, I can only imagine. Luckily, I'm single, but yeah, I can imagine that is an experience. And for you guys watching, you know, whether you've experienced this or you've thought about going into business with a life partner, right? Or maybe you have a business partner or a colleague and your friends on the outside, and it's boundaries is the word that I'm getting from this. It's like setting those boundaries so that the friendship or the relationship or whatever it is outside of that doesn't fall apart. And this is definitely something that is tricky to navigate. And for all of you guys watching, look at how Lena is navigating this. She hasn't got it all figured out. She's figuring it out as she goes. And this is the beauty of saying, you know, we're in the messy middle right now. Like, I don't have the blueprint as to how this is going to turn out. I'm just navigating it in the best way that I can. And it might turn out that actually in hindsight, that wasn't such a good move, and this wasn't right, and this wasn't right. But we can only know that in hindsight, right? Otherwise, it's just following the thing that feels right at the time. Would you agree, Lena?
Totally. Yeah. And I think something, I just kind of realized when you were asking me earlier, what makes a real and raw leader. And I think it's being willing to make mistakes and really willing to, you know, look at those mistakes and improve. Because I think it's really easy to almost like fall into victimhood and say, oh, I did that wrong. That's so terrible of me. And, you know, like, oh, you know, and sometimes I even do that with my husband. I'm just like, oh, like there I go again. I'm just a terrible manager. I'm just awful. And he's just like, don't do that. And so we all fall into those spirals, but how can you, something that keeps coming up for me the past few weeks is like, how can you hold yourself stronger and tighter in those moments? And it really comes back to what I kind of talked about in the beginning, is like those parts of you that you don't love so much yet, right? That you maybe don't accept yet, but how can you look at that and really shift it to step into your next level? Because I think the challenge is the key to the next breakthrough. And I know that this is making me a stronger leader, but it's messy and it's stressful and it's shitty in the moment, but it's also when you can learn to love that process, that's when I think, you know, the journey becomes better and the destination becomes better, even though we all know there's not really a destination.
Yeah, I love this so much. This is such an incredible share, and I'm sure so many of you watching can resonate so much with this. So that being said, Lena, please tell everyone about the magic that you bring into the world, and of course, where they can find you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I am the leader of the baddie community online. So we are all about taking massive action, being bold, being unapologetic, owning how freaking incredible we are in our content with our clients. And so I help women basically build freedom businesses. So mainly helping you build a scalable offer suite so that you can make a ton of money without having a bunch of time on your calendar. That's pretty much my reality right now in Valencia, Spain. So if freedom businesses is your vibe, then you are definitely welcome to my community. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok. It's, I'm sure you'll share the handle. It's contently_Lena. I would love to welcome you in. Happy to chat with you. And yeah, it's been absolutely incredible, getting extremely vulnerable. I love it. I think it's really fun. It gives me energy. And I hope I can inspire more people too, to just share your heart, share what you're going through, and people can see you as a leader. It doesn't have to mean that you are any lesser than. Show us how you're navigating it and watch people look up to you.
Yeah, exactly that. I couldn't have said it better myself. Show people what you're experiencing right now, because they will connect with you on a far deeper level than any how-to piece of content ever could. And Lena, I'm so sorry, I've been saying your name wrong.
Okay.
I do apologize. Okay, so this was amazing. Everyone watching, I will see you tomorrow for the next Dare to Share. And Lena, thank you so much for being brave, for being courageous, and for daring to share your vulnerability with us all today.
Thank you for making the show. I'm so excited.
Oh, you're most welcome. Bye.